Hello everyone, in this video we will continue with the state diagrams. Let's first check the class diagram to see which of the classes would require us to draw state diagrams, which are the classes that change their states. So here we have some of the classes. One of the classes that may need a state diagram is transaction, because we have manual payments and admins are going to approve those manual payments. So in that case, we have different states where the transaction is not yet approved, and then it could be rejected or it could be approved. Other one is report, because once a report has been approved, let's say concluded, then a person could appeal. In that case, then the report can be again brought back for further decision. So we want report. We also should have connection, because if a user connects with you, then you two have connection, and then we will add the option to basically undo the connection, like unfollow. But instead of you unfollowing, it's like taking it away from them. They unfollow you by your will, and you will lose the connects that you've earned, and they will get it back. Let's start with the transaction state diagram. We're going to use state from UML 2.5 in Draw.io. Then once we create the order, if it's a manual payment, we will just wait for approval. Otherwise, if it's pay with card, then we're going to wait for the payment gateway to say the payment has been fulfilled successfully. Let's see the sequence diagram. So we are only creating a report object in manual payments. Okay, so this is the action that will happen. Once approved, we don't need a trigger. So as you know, the format or the syntax for writing these edges or the transitions is first we say trigger, then there is a guard, after slash there's going to be some kind of action. That means here we are writing the trigger, admin approves transaction. There is no guard and there is no action associated with it. We're just having it approved. Or maybe we can actually notify. You can say here notify user, and then here when admin rejects the transaction, we can also notify the user. I actually want multiple actions here. We not only notify the user, we also create manual decision objects and reports. We're also going to create manual decision object here. Let's put it like this. So if the user doesn't have enough balance, or maybe they quit in the process, then we will just fail the transaction. Let's add the final state node. So that sums up our transaction state diagram. I think this captures what we're trying to do. because when an order is created, it's either going to continue with transfer or card, and if the user is paying with card, the payment gateway like Stripe or PayPal is going to decide if the payment is successful or declined. Once it's declined, we can say it's failed. Otherwise, it's approved, and automatically we increment the buyer's connects, which means we have fulfilled what is required or what is needed. Otherwise, if it's a manual payment, then it's is either rejected or approved. Let's add it in our website. Let's continue with the report. We have report here. Okay, so this one is a bit special because we have some kind of complex relationship. First, a report is created and it awaits decision from admins, and then the admin is going to either dismiss the report or is going to approve the report. This means if they dismiss it, they are saying that the report is just not valid or unnecessary. And someone could have reported that and they'll be notified. For example, if I report on a post saying this is scam, for example, and if the admin sees the report and dismisses it, saying this is not actually a scam, then I'll be notified that the admin has decided it's not a scam. I can appeal or I can submit an appeal saying, hey, this is actually a scam. You should reconsider your decision. Then it becomes await appeal decision. And then if another admin sees the reports and say, hey, it was actually a scam, then the appeal is accepted and they can decide to approve the action as well. But if they see the appeal and say, hey, this is not necessary, stop submitting appeals, they can reject it. So once your appeal is rejected, it goes into the closed state and you cannot submit an appeal again. You can also submit an appeal under approved state. So in approved, the report is, it could be about a reported post or it could be about a message that you send to someone and they report on the message. So if the report is approved, that means the person who reported that thing is right, then it gets fulfilled, which means either the post is taken down or you are blocked from messaging that person. And after that, you can also submit an appeal saying, hey, this was unjust. So in the case of the post, it would be you who created the post, who has been reported on, who is going to submit that appeal. And if it's about a message, it's going to be the sender of that message. Once they appeal, they cannot appeal again if it's rejected, but if their appeal is accepted, someone else is going to go through the report again and is either going to be dismissed, and the person who reported on it first can submit an appeal, and we can go through this process again and again until an appeal is actually rejected and it's closed. Once we add a connection, the other person can actually remove it. But then when I think about it, if we are returning the connects, they can again add that connection, and this would become a loop. We don't want that. What we want is we want to give the person who is requesting the connection the ability to say, hey, I am this person, you know me from this place, and please accept my connection. So the first time they're going to connect automatically. The second time, the other person has to approve that connection request. So what we will do is we will add connection, and then we can say here disconnect. Let's call it disconnect instead of writing remove connection. Now we can say the state is connection removed. We want to come to this state if the connection was also reported on and it was removed by admin, but then we want to have the ability for the other user to submit that kind of request where they're not allowed to spend the money and have the connection again, but they'll be allowed to kind of beg or make the other person aware of the situation. Then we can add another state for, let's say, request submitted, which means the initiator or the person who was actually banned from connecting to this user, let's say initiator, sends a this can be optional. So the user might not always send a text saying, hey, please let's connect back again, but it will become a request. We want to track how many times a connection is being removed and then connected back again, because we want to know what these people are going through. You know, it could be toxic people, like people in relationship, and then they could be disconnecting and connecting again. We want to know if there is such kind of abuse of our system, but we don't want to track it every time there is such kind of action to connect and disconnect. That's why I have reconnection count, which is basically saying every time you disconnect and then connect again, we will keep track of that count. And we might have a warning, say after 5 times, maybe we will not allow you to do this. So once the request is denied, we're not going to allow any further reconnection. Let's rename this to connected. You can see all of our state diagrams here. Thank you.